The training hall was silent. Rows of young cadets stood in straight lines, their faces serious, their backs stiff. No one spoke. No one moved. They all knew something important was about to happen. At the front of the hall, a large screen turned on. A red symbol appeared. Everyone recognized it. It meant one-way mission. A low voice filled the room. This is a special assignment. High risk. No return expected. Some cadets looked down. Others swallowed hard. A few tried to stay strong, but fear was clear in their eyes. Among them stood Eli. He did not look scared. His face was calm, almost bored. His hands rested by his sides, steady and relaxed. The voice continued. Target planet, Karth. The screen changed. A dark planet appeared. Thick clouds covered most of it. Lightning flashed across the surface. Huge shapes moved under the clouds. Karth is classified as a death planet, the voice said. No known species has survived long-term exposure. Previous missions failed. A quiet murmur spread in the hall. Eli kept watching. The screen showed broken ships, empty suits, and dark forests filled with unknown creatures. Conditions include extreme weather, toxic air, and high-level predators, the voice added. This mission is for observation only. Everyone understood what that meant. Observation until death. Then the voice said, one cadet will be selected. The room became even more silent. Names started to appear on the screen, one by one. Each name stayed for a second, then disappeared. Cadets held their breath. Eli watched without emotion. Finally, one name stayed. Eli. For a moment, nothing moved. Then all eyes turned toward him. Some looked shocked. Some looked sorry. A few looked relieved that it was not them. Eli simply blinked once. Step forward, the voice ordered. Eli walked calmly out of the line. His steps were slow but sure. He stopped in front of the screen. Do you accept this mission? The voice asked. There was no pressure in the tone. No emotion. Just a question. Eli thought for a second. Not about fear. Not about death. But about something else. A small, quiet curiosity. He had always been different. While others trained to fight or lead, Eli liked to observe, to understand, to test limits. Karth was a death planet, but it was also unknown. Eli gave a small nod. I accept. Later that day, Eli stood inside the launch station. The ship prepared for departure. Workers moved around quickly, checking systems and loading supplies. But there were not many supplies. Just the basics. A small pack. A few tools. A simple recording device. Enough to survive for a short time. Eli picked up the camera and looked at it. Record everything. One officer had told him earlier. Even if it's your last moment. Eli turned the device in his hand. Okay, he had replied simply. Now he placed it inside his pack. A man in uniform walked up to him. You understand the situation? The man asked. Yes, Eli said. No rescue, the man added. I know. The man studied Eli's face, maybe expecting fear or doubt. But there was none. Why did you accept? The man asked. Eli looked toward the large window. Outside, the dark shape of Karth could be seen far away in space. After a moment, he said, I want to see it. The man frowned slightly, but said nothing more. The launch alarm sounded. Eli stepped inside the small ship. The door closed behind him with a heavy sound. Inside, everything was quiet. He sat in the pilot seat and strapped himself in. Lights turned on. System started. A voice spoke from the control panel. Launch in 10-9. Eli looked forward. 3, 2, 1. The ship lifted. The ground below moved away quickly. The sky turned dark as the ship entered space. Eli did not speak. He just watched. After some time, the ship entered autopilot mode. The journey to Karth would not take long. Eli reached into his pack and took out the camera. He turned it on. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he looked into it. This is Eli, he said in a simple voice. Mission start. He paused. Going to Karth. He stopped recording and turned it off. No long speech. No goodbye message. Just facts. Hours later, the warning lights turned red. The ship shook as it entered Karth's atmosphere. Outside the window, thick clouds surrounded the ship. Lightning flashed again and again. The air burned against the metal. Warning, high pressure. Warning, unstable landing, the system said. Eli held the controls steady. Adjusting, he said quietly. The ship dropped fast. Too fast. Eli pulled the controls, trying to slow it down. The ship fought against him, shaking hard. Through the clouds, he saw the surface for the first time. Dark land. Huge trees. Moving shadows. Landing zone not safe, the system warned. Eli ignored it. There is no safe zone, he said. The ship hit the ground hard. Everything went silent. For a few seconds, there was no movement. Then, Eli opened his eyes. He was still alive. A small cut was on his forehead, but he did not react to it. Smoke filled the cabin. He unstrapped himself and stood up slowly. The door was damaged, but he forced it open with effort. It finally broke open with a loud sound. Fresh air rushed in. Heavy. Strange. Different. Eli stepped outside. The ground felt solid under his boots. The air was thick and warm. The sky above was dark, even during the day. In the distance, something moved between the trees. Low sounds echoed through the forest. Danger was everywhere. Eli looked around quietly. Then he took a small breath and said, almost calmly, "Okay." The Death Planet had just become his new world. The air felt heavy. Eli stood still for a moment after stepping out of the broken ship. The strange atmosphere pressed against his body. Each breath was slower, thicker, harder than normal. It was not poison, but it was not easy either. He did not panic. Instead, he took another breath, then another. Slowly, his body began to adjust. Not good, but not impossible, he said quietly to himself. Around him, the land stretched far and dark. The ground was rough, covered with black soil and sharp rocks. Tall trees stood in every direction. Their trunks were thick and twisted, and their leaves were dark green, almost black. There was no wind, but there were sounds. Low, deep sounds. Something moved far away. Then something else answered from another direction. Eli listened carefully. He was not trying to find danger. He was trying to understand it. He turned back to the ship. The landing had been rough. One side of the ship was crushed. Smoke still came out from the back, but the main body was still in one piece. Good enough, Eli said. He walked inside again and started checking supplies. Food packs, limited. Water, very limited. Tools, basic. Medical kit, small. Camera, working. Eli nodded. Short time, he said. Need to fix that. He took what he needed and packed it into a carry bag. Then he stepped outside again. The sky above suddenly flashed. A loud crack of thunder followed. Eli looked up. Dark clouds moved fast, covering everything. Lightning flashed again, brighter this time. Then the rain started. Heavy, cold, and fast. Within seconds, Eli was completely wet. He looked around quickly. Staying outside in this storm was not safe. He moved back toward the ship and found a broken metal panel. With some effort, he dragged it and leaned it against the ship, making a small covered space. Not perfect, but enough for now. He sat under it, watching the rain fall like a wall of water. After some time, the storm slowed down. The forest became quiet again. Too quiet. Eli stood up and stepped out carefully. Water had filled small holes in the ground. Some of it looked clear. He crouched down and studied it. He took out a small tester from his kit and checked the water. Not clean, he said, but can fix. He marked the spot in his mind. Water source found. That was important. A sudden sound came from the trees. Eli froze. Not in fear. In focus. Something large moved between the trunks. He slowly stepped back, closer to the ship. The bushes shook. Then, a creature stepped out. It was big. Much bigger than Eli. Its body was covered in thick, dark skin. It had 4 legs, strong and heavy. Its head was low, with small glowing eyes. Sharp teeth showed as it opened its mouth slightly. It saw Eli. Eli saw it. Neither moved. The creature made a low sound. Eli did not run. Running could make it attack. Instead, He slowly lowered his body a little, keeping his eyes on it but not staring too hard. He showed no threat, no fear, just presence. The creature stepped closer. One step, then another. Eli stayed still. His heart beat faster, but his face did not show it. The creature stopped a few meters away. It sniffed the air. Then it looked at the broken ship. Then back at Eli. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the creature made another low sound and slowly turned away. It walked back into the forest and disappeared. Eli let out a slow breath. "Not everything attacks," he said softly. As the light began to fade, Eli knew he had to prepare for night. Night on this planet would be worse. He moved quickly. He collected broken parts from the ship. Metal pieces, wires, panels. He used them to build a simple barrier near the ship. Not strong, but enough to slow something down. Then he found long branches from nearby trees and placed them together to form a small shelter. It was rough, but it worked. Before the sun fully disappeared, Eli took out his camera again. He turned it on. "This is Eli," he said calmly. "Day 1 on Karth." He turned the camera slightly, showing the dark forest behind him. Air is heavy. Storms are strong. Creatures are big. He paused for a second, but manageable. He looked back at the camera. Water source found. Shelter in progress. A low sound echoed from the forest again. Eli did not react much. "Night coming," he added. "That will be the real test." He stopped recording. Darkness fell quickly. Faster than he expected. The sky turned black. No stars. No light. Only the sounds remained. Louder now. Closer. Something howled in the distance. Another creature answered. Then something moved near his shelter. Eli sat inside, holding a metal rod like a weapon. His eyes stayed open, focused, waiting. A shadow passed by his barrier. Then another. But nothing attacked. Not yet. Eli did not sleep. He listened. He learned. Each sound became a small piece of information. Each movement told him something about this world. Hours passed. Slowly, carefully. Eli stayed alive through the first night. And as he sat there in the darkness, one thing became clear. Karth was not just trying to kill him. It was testing him. The night on Karth felt endless. Eli sat inside his small shelter, his back against cold metal. His eyes stayed open, watching the darkness outside. The weak barrier he had built stood just a few steps away. It was not strong, but it was all he had. The sounds of the planet were louder now. Deep growls. Sharp cries. Heavy footsteps moving across the ground. Something large passed near his shelter again. Eli tightened his grip on the metal rod in his hand. He did not move. Even his breathing stayed slow and quiet. The shadow stopped. For a moment, everything went still. Eli listened carefully. The creature sniffed the air. It moved closer to the barrier. The metal sheet made a soft noise as it touched it. Eli's eyes followed the shape. Big. Very big. But still outside. The creature let out a low sound, almost like a warning. Then, after a few seconds, it moved away. Eli relaxed slightly. "Barrier works," he whispered. "Not perfect, but enough to make them think twice." Hours passed slowly. Eli did not sleep. Instead, he listened and learned. Each sound told him something. Some creatures moved fast, some slow. Some hunted alone, others in groups. Some made noise, others were silent. Karth was full of life. Dangerous life. But not random. There was a pattern. Eli just needed to understand it. After a long time, the sounds began to fade. The sky slowly turned dark gray instead of black. Morning was coming. Eli stepped outside carefully. The air felt a little lighter than before. Not easy, but better. The ground was wet from the storm, and the smell of the forest was stronger now. Fresh, but also strange. Eli looked around. There were marks on the ground near his shelter. Large footprints. Claw marks. Signs of creatures that had come close during the night. Eli crouched down and studied them. "For legs, heavy, slow," he said softly, looking at one set of prints. Then he moved to another. Different one. Faster. He nodded. Multiple types. He stood up and looked toward the forest. Need more information. He walked back to the ship and searched for anything useful. Inside, the systems were mostly dead, but some parts still worked. He found a small scanner device. Old, but functional. He turned it on. A faint light appeared. Good, he said. Then he found some wires and a broken panel. After a few minutes of work, he connected the scanner to a small power source. Now it worked better. Eli stepped outside again. He held the scanner toward the trees. The device made a soft sound. Movement detected. Multiple signals. Different sizes. Eli watched the readings carefully.
Too many, he said.
He lowered the scanner. No safe direction. He needed water. The small pool he had found yesterday was still there. Eli walked toward it, staying alert. Every step was careful. Every sound mattered. When he reached the water, he checked it again. Still not clean. He took out a small filter from his kit and began working on a simple system using parts from the ship. It was slow work, but important. After some time, he managed to collect a small amount of cleaner water. He drank a little, then stopped. Save the rest, he said. A sudden movement caught his eye. Something small moved near the edge of the water. Eli froze. This time it was not a large predator. It was a small creature, about the size of his hand. It had thin legs and a long body. Its skin changed color as it moved, blending with the ground. Eli watched it carefully. It moved fast, catching tiny insects near the water. Then it stopped and looked at Eli. For a moment, both stayed still. Then the creature quickly ran away and disappeared. Eli did not chase it. Not all danger, he said. Some are just part of the system. By midday, Eli returned to his shelter. He needed to improve it. Last night was only the beginning. He worked for hours. He added more metal pieces to the barrier. He made it higher and stronger. He used wires to tie parts together. Then he built a better roof using branches and leaves. Now the shelter could block rain more effectively. He also created a small raised area inside so he would not have to sit directly on the ground. Step by step, it became better. As the light began to fade again, Eli prepared for another night. This time, he was more ready. He placed sharp pieces of metal near the entrance as a warning system. If something stepped on them, it would make noise. He also kept his tools close. Everything had a place. Everything had a purpose. Before night came, Eli took out his camera. He turned it on.
This is Eli, he said.
Day 2. He showed the improved shelter. Barrier stronger. Shelter better. He turned the camera toward the ground, showing the footprints. Multiple creatures. Different types. Some avoid contact.
He paused.
Pattern exists. He looked back at the camera. Not random. This place works in balance. A loud roar echoed from far away. Eli did not react much. Night again, he said calmly. We'll test again. He stopped recording. Darkness returned. The sounds came back. But this time, Eli was ready. He sat inside his improved shelter, his eyes sharp, his mind calm. He was no longer just surviving. He was learning. And slowly, Karth was starting to make sense. Morning came slowly on Karth. A weak gray light spread across the sky. The air still felt heavy, but Eli's breathing was easier now. His body was starting to adjust to the strange planet. He stepped out of his shelter and looked around. Everything was wet again. Not from rain this time, but from thick mist that covered the ground during the night. The trees stood quiet, their dark leaves holding drops of water that fell one by one. Eli stretched his arms slightly.
Better, he said.
He picked up his scanner and checked the area. A few signals. Not too close. That was good. Today, Eli had one goal. Find a better water source. The small pool near his shelter was not enough. It was slow, dirty, and unreliable. He needed something constant. River, he said quietly. Most planets had one. Karth should too. Eli packed light.
A tool. A knife.
Some rope made from plant fibers. And his camera. He stepped into the forest. The ground felt soft under his boots. Strange plants covered the area. Some moved slightly when he passed, like they were alive in a different way. Eli noticed everything. He did not touch anything without thinking. He walked slowly, following a downward slope. Water flows down, he said. The deeper he went, the darker it became. The trees grew closer together. The sounds changed. Less wind. More movement. Something ran across the ground nearby. Eli stopped, waited, then continued. After some time, he heard it. A low, steady sound. Water. Eli moved carefully toward it. Through the trees, he finally saw it. A river.
Wide.
Slow on the surface, but strong underneath. Eli stood at the edge and watched. Good, he said. Better than the small pool, but also more dangerous. He crouched down and scanned the water. Multiple signals. Large ones. Moving. Eli nodded. Of course. Nothing on this planet was simple. He sat on a rock near the river and took out his camera. He turned it on. This is Eli, he said calmly. Day 3. He pointed the camera toward the river. Found water source. Bigger. Stronger. He paused for a moment. Also more life. As if the planet answered him, the water suddenly moved. A large shape rushed near the surface, then disappeared again. Eli did not react much. We'll need caution, he added. He turned off the camera. Eli stood up and looked around. The area felt different. Quiet, but not empty. Then, a sound behind him. Not loud, but close. Eli turned slowly. Something stood between the trees. It was large, bigger than the creature he saw before. Its body was covered in thick, stone-like skin. Its shape was strong, almost like a moving rock. Its eyes were small but bright. It watched him. Eli did not move. The creature did not attack. It just stood there, watching. Eli slowly lowered his hands. No weapon raised. No sudden movement. Just calm. The creature took one step forward. The ground shook slightly. Eli stayed still. His mind worked fast. Not hunting, he thought. Just observing. The creature came closer. Now it was only a few steps away. Eli could see its full size. Huge. Powerful. But not aggressive. He slowly crouched down, lowering himself. Showing no threat. The creature tilted its head slightly. Then it made a deep, low sound. Not a roar. Not anger. Something else. Eli stayed quiet. After a few seconds, he slowly reached into his bag. Not for a weapon.
For food.
A small piece from his supply. He placed it on the ground between them. Then he moved his hand away. The creature watched carefully. It stepped forward. Sniffed the food.
Paused.
Then, it ate it. Eli watched closely. No sudden movement. No reaction. The creature looked at him again. This time, its posture was different. Less tense. More curious. Eli gave a small nod. Okay, he said softly. The moment lasted only a short time. Then, the creature turned. It walked toward the river and stopped near the edge. It drank water slowly. Then it looked back at Eli one more time and walked into the trees.
Gone.
Eli let out a quiet breath. That worked, he said. He stayed near the river for some time, studying the area. Now he knew something important. Not all creatures attacked. Some could be understood, maybe even trusted. Before leaving, Eli took out his camera again. This is important, he said. He pointed toward the forest where the creature had gone. Large creature. Did not attack. He paused. Possible non-hostile behavior. He thought for a second, then added. Gave food. No aggression. A small smile appeared on his face. Maybe friend. He turned off the camera. As Eli started walking back, he felt something behind him. Soft steps. Heavy, but not threatening.
He stopped.
Then slowly turned. The same creature stood at a distance, watching him. Eli blinked once, then gave a small nod. You again, he said. The creature did not move closer, but it did not leave either. It simply followed, keeping distance. Step by step. Eli turned and continued walking. The creature followed, not as a hunter, not as an enemy, but something else. Something new. Eli thought for a moment, then said quietly, Rocky. The creature made a low sound, as if it accepted the name. And just like that, on a death planet, Eli was no longer alone. The forest no longer felt the same to Eli. It was still dark, still dangerous, still full of unknown life. But now, it felt understandable. Eli walked slowly through the trees, his steps calm and steady. Behind him, Rocky followed at a quiet distance. The large creature moved carefully, its heavy body making less noise than before. Eli noticed that. "Learning," he said softly. Rocky made a low sound, almost like a response. When Eli reached his shelter, he stopped and looked at it. The structure was stronger than before. The metal barrier stood firm, and the roof held together well. It was not perfect, but it was enough. Rocky stopped a few steps away. It did not come closer.
It watched.
Eli turned toward it. "You can come," he said calmly. Rocky did not move. Eli understood. Trust takes time. He nodded once and turned back to his shelter. The day was quiet. Eli worked on improving his living space. He added more support to the walls. He cleaned the area around the shelter, removing sharp rocks and unwanted plants. Rocky stayed nearby. Not too close. Not too far. Sometimes it walked around, sniffing the ground. Sometimes it just sat and watched Eli work. Eli did not force anything. He let it be. After some time, Eli picked up a small piece of cooked food from yesterday. He walked a few steps away from the shelter and placed it on the ground. Then he stepped back. Rocky watched. It stayed still for a moment, then slowly walked forward. It sniffed the food,
Paused.
then ate it. Eli gave a small nod. "Good," he said. Rocky looked at him again. This time, it did not move away quickly. Later, Eli sat near his shelter and took out his camera. He turned it on.
"This is Eli," he said.
Day 4. He pointed the camera toward Rocky. Large creature. Still here. Rocky looked at the camera for a second, then looked away. No attack. No aggression. Eli continued. He paused. Seems calm. Rocky made a low sound. Eli looked at it. Name Rocky. He gave a small smile. Good name. He turned off the camera. As the day moved forward, Eli decided to test something. He stood up and walked toward the forest again. Rocky watched him. Then, it followed. Not too close, but not far. Eli walked slowly, observing everything. Plants, sounds, movement. Rocky moved behind him, its eyes scanning the area. At one point, a small, fast creature jumped out from the bushes. Eli stopped. Rocky reacted instantly. It stepped forward, letting out a deep growl. The small creature froze, then quickly ran away. Eli looked at Rocky. Protection, he said. Rocky relaxed again. They reached the river. The water moved quietly, but Eli knew what was inside. He walked to the edge and crouched down. Rocky stayed behind him, watching the water closely. Eli picked up a long stick and placed it into the river. Immediately, something grabbed it, pulled hard. The stick snapped. Eli pulled back calmly. Strong, he said. Rocky growled softly. Eli stood up. No rush, he said. We learn first. They stayed near the river for a while. Eli watched the movement in the water. He studied the timing, the patterns. When the creatures moved, where they stayed, how fast they attacked. Everything mattered. Rocky stayed alert. Sometimes it looked at the water, sometimes at the forest. Always watching. As the light began to fade, Eli and Rocky returned to the shelter. This time, Rocky came closer than before. It stopped just outside the barrier. Eli looked at it, then slowly moved a metal piece aside, making a small opening. Rocky watched, then stepped forward. One step, then another. It entered the shelter area. Eli did not move suddenly. He just nodded. Okay, he said. That night was different. The sounds of the forest were still there. The distant roars, the moving shadows. But inside the shelter, things felt safer. Rocky lay near the entrance. Eli sat inside, watching the fire. He had started using small dry branches. The fire was weak, but it gave light. And a little warmth. Eli looked at Rocky. Rocky looked back. No fear. No tension. Just quiet understanding. A loud roar came from far away. Rocky lifted its head. Eli stayed calm. It's fine, he said. Rocky slowly lowered its head again. Eli picked up his camera one more time. He turned it on. Day 4 night, he said. He moved the camera slightly to show Rocky. Not alone anymore. He paused. Better chances. He thought for a second, then added, this planet, not just danger. He looked around his shelter, then back at the camera. It's a system. Rocky made a soft sound. Eli gave a small nod. Yes, he said quietly. We just need to understand it. He turned off the camera. The fire burned slowly. The night passed. And for the first time, since arriving on Karth, Eli slept.
Not deeply.
Not fully, but enough. Because now, he was no longer surviving alone. He was learning with a companion. Morning on Karth came with a low orange glow behind the thick clouds. Eli opened his eyes slowly. For a moment he stayed still listening. The sounds of the forest were softer than the night before. No loud roars. No heavy steps nearby. He sat up. Rocky was still there. The large creature lay near the entrance of the shelter, its body calm but alert even in rest. Its eyes opened as soon as Eli moved. Eli gave a small nod. Morning, he said. Rocky made a low sound in return. Eli stepped outside. The air felt heavy as always, but his body had fully adjusted now. Breathing was easier. Moving was natural. He looked around his shelter. Everything was still in place. No damage. No new tracks. Good, he said. Today, Eli had a clear plan.
Food.
The small supply he brought from the ship was almost gone. He could not depend on it anymore. He looked toward the forest, then toward the river. Time to try, he said. Eli spent some time preparing. He picked up his tools and started working on a better fishing device. The simple stick he used before was not enough. He needed something stronger. He used a long, solid branch for the main rod. Then he attached a sharp piece of metal at the end using strong plant fibers. It was not perfect, but it was better. He tested it once. Strong. Flexible. Good enough. Rocky watched him the whole time. When Eli finished, he picked up the tool and looked at Rocky. Come, he said. Rocky stood up immediately. It followed him as he walked toward the river. The forest felt quieter today. But Eli knew better. Quiet did not mean safe. He walked carefully, his eyes scanning every direction. Rocky stayed close this time. Closer than before. When they reached the river, Eli stopped. The water moved slowly on the surface, but deep inside, shadows shifted. Eli crouched down.
He watched.
Waited. Learned. Rocky stood behind him, its eyes locked on the water. Minutes passed. Then Eli saw it. A large shape moved near the surface.
Fast.
Strong. Eli's grip tightened on the rod. Now, he whispered. He pushed the rod into the water. For a second, nothing happened. Then suddenly, a powerful force pulled it. Eli held tight. The water exploded as a huge fish-like creature jumped out. Its body was long and thick, covered in hard scales. Its mouth opened wide, showing rows of sharp teeth. It twisted in the air and crashed back into the river, trying to pull the rod away. Eli stepped back, digging his feet into the ground. Strong, he said calmly. The creature pulled again.
Harder this time.
Eli did not panic. He leaned back slowly, using his full strength. Rocky stepped forward, growling deeply. But it did not jump in. It watched, waiting, trusting. The fight continued. The creature thrashed in the water, trying to escape. Eli adjusted his grip.
Pulled.
Waited.
Pulled again.
Step by step. Slow and steady. After a long struggle, Eli finally dragged the creature closer to the edge. One last pull, and the fish landed on the ground with a heavy. It moved wildly, trying to get back into the water. Eli quickly stepped forward and used his tool to secure it. After a few seconds, it stopped moving. Eli stood still, breathing slowly. Then he looked down at the catch. Large. Heavy. Enough food for many days. He gave a small nod. Success, he said. Rocky moved closer and sniffed the creature. Its eyes showed interest. Eli looked at it.
Food, he said.
Rocky understood. Eli dragged the fish back toward the shelter. It was heavy, but manageable. Rocky walked beside him, occasionally looking around for danger. They moved as a team now. Back at the shelter, Eli started preparing the food. He used his knife to cut the outer layer carefully. The inside looked cleaner than expected.
Good, he said.
He started a small fire using dry branches and some broken parts from the ship. The fire grew slowly. Soon, the smell of cooking food filled the air. Rocky sat nearby, watching closely. Eli cut a piece and placed it in front of Rocky. The creature sniffed it, then ate it. It made a soft sound. Satisfied. Eli nodded. Approved, he said. After eating, Eli leaned back against the metal wall of his shelter. For the first time since arriving on Karth, he was not worried about food. Not for now. He picked up his camera and turned it on.
This is Eli, he said.
Day 5. He turned the camera toward the large fish. First successful catch.
He paused.
River confirmed as food source. Rocky moved into the frame. Eli looked at it. Assistant, he added. Rocky made a low sound. Eli gave a small smile. He looked back at the camera. This place not impossible, he said. He thought for a moment, then added, just need to learn and adapt. He turned off the camera. The fire burned steadily. The shelter felt stronger. The system of the planet made more sense. And as Eli sat there, watching the dark forest from a safe distance, one thing became clear. He was no longer just surviving. He was starting to live. The night was calm on Karth. For the first time, Eli did not feel like the planet was testing him with danger at every second. The forest still made sounds, but they were quieter, more distant. Inside the shelter, a small fire burned. Rocky lay near the entrance, its body relaxed but still ready. Its eyes opened and closed slowly, but it never fully slept. Eli sat across from it. He was cleaning his tools.
Slow.
Careful. Focused. After a while, Eli looked at his camera. It had been days since he sent anything. The system on the ship was still weak, but there was a small window of opportunity. A short connection back to the main base. Not strong. Not stable. But enough for a small message. Eli picked up the camera. He turned it on. Trying connection, he said calmly. He adjusted a small device he had fixed earlier using ship parts. A soft light blinked on it. Signal weak, the system voice said. Eli did not react. He simply waited. After a few seconds, the light turned green. Connection established. Eli looked at the camera.
This is Eli, he said.
His voice was steady, calm, and clear. Mission update. He turned the camera slightly, showing the shelter behind him. Then he pointed it toward the fire. Surviving. He paused. Then slowly turned the camera to Rocky. The large creature looked at the camera for a moment. Its eyes were sharp, but calm. Eli spoke again. Local creature. Not hostile. Rocky made a low sound. Eli added, Name Rocky. He stopped for a moment. Then continued. Food source found. Water source found. He spoke in simple, clear words. No emotion. Just facts. Environment dangerous. But predictable. A low sound echoed from the forest outside. Rocky lifted its head slightly. Eli did not react. He continued speaking. Adaptation is working. For a moment, the signal flickered. Eli adjusted the device quickly. Stabilizing, the system said. The connection held. Back on Earth. At the command station, several people suddenly stood up. Screens flickered to life. A signal appeared. At first, it was weak. Then clearer. A voice came through the system. This is Eli. People froze. The room went silent. They watched the screen carefully. Not a broken message. Not static. A live transmission. From Karth. On Karth. Eli continued speaking. Planet behavior is not random. He looked slightly toward the forest. Patterns exist. Rocky stood up slowly and moved closer to him. Eli placed a hand on its side.
Come.
Steady. The creature stayed still. Creatures avoid unnecessary conflict, Eli said.
He paused.
Observation leads to understanding. The signal flickered again. Eli knew he had limited time. He took a breath, then looked directly into the camera. This mission is no longer survival only. He spoke slowly. Progress is possible. A loud crack echoed from far away. Rocky growled softly. Eli stayed calm. The signal became unstable. He quickly added one more thing. Human adaptability, effective. Then, a sudden interruption. The signal weakened. The camera screen flickered. Eli frowned slightly. Connection failing, the system said. Eli nodded. Understood. He held the camera steady. This is final part, he said. His voice remained calm. Mission outcome, not failure. On Earth. The command team watched closely. Some leaned forward. Some whispered. They could not believe what they were seeing. Back on Karth. Eli looked at Rocky. Then back at the camera. We continue, he said. The signal broke. The screen went dark. Silence returned. The forest sounds came back. The fire still burned. Rocky stood beside Eli, waiting. Eli placed the camera down. He did not look surprised. He did not look worried. He simply said, "Message sent." For a moment he stayed still. Then he added, "They will respond." Rocky made a low sound. Eli looked at it and gave a small nod. "Until then," he said, "we prepare." The night continued. But now, Eli was no longer completely alone on Karth. Somewhere far away, they had seen him, and everything was about to change. Back on Earth, everything changed after the signal. The moment Eli's message came through, the room at the command center went completely silent. People stood still, staring at the screen. It had been years since any signal came from Karth, a planet called a death zone, a place where no one survived.
But now,
a human voice had returned from it. "This is Eli." Those words echoed in their minds. The command team replayed the recording again and again. They watched Eli sitting calmly near a fire. They saw the strange creature, Rocky, standing beside him. They heard his voice.
Calm, clear, alive.
No fear, no panic, just control. At first, no one spoke. Then one officer finally said, "This is impossible." Another replied, "It is not impossible. It is happening." They watched again. Eli spoke about survival, about patterns, about adaptation. And most of all, he spoke like he understood the planet. News spread quickly, not just inside the military, but across the world. Scientists, leaders, and even ordinary people saw the message. Everyone had the same question. How is he alive? In a short time, Eli's footage was shared everywhere. His calm voice, his simple words, his strange, quiet life on a deadly planet. People watched it again and again, not because it was exciting, but because it was unbelievable. Some people thought it was fake. Some said it was a trick. But the data was clear. The signal was real. The images were real. Eli was real. Back on Karth, Eli did not know any of this. He continued his daily routine.
Work.
Observe. Survive. Learn. Rocky stayed close. Sometimes helping. Sometimes watching. Sometimes just existing nearby. Eli walked along the river one morning. The water moved slowly, but he now knew its patterns. He stopped at a familiar spot, the place where he had caught his first fish. He looked at it quietly, then said, "Improving." Rocky stood behind him. It had grown stronger since the first day, more confident, more aware. Now it was not just following. It was part of the environment around Eli. Eli took out his camera. He turned it on.
"This is Eli," he said.
Day 7. He pointed the camera toward the river. Stability increasing. He paused. Behavior patterns confirmed. He glanced at Rocky. Companions stable. Rocky made a low sound. Eli nodded. He continued. Planet not random. He looked around. System-based.
He paused again.
Then added. Understanding is key. Meanwhile, back on Earth, scientists studied every detail of Eli's message. They analyzed his voice, his movements, his environment. One scientist said, "He is not just surviving." Another replied, "He is adapting faster than expected." A third added quietly, "He is learning the planet faster than we can study it." News channels called him many names. Death Planet Survivor. Human Beyond Limits. The Karth Explorer. But Eli did not know any of these titles.
To him, he was just a man trying to live.
Back on Karth, Eli sat near the shelter. Rocky rested beside him. The fire burned slowly. The night was calm. A distant roar echoed through the forest. Rocky lifted its head. Eli stayed relaxed.
Far, he said.
Rocky settled again. Eli looked at the dark sky. No stars. No clear light. Just thick clouds moving slowly. He spoke quietly to Rocky. "We're being watched now." Rocky made a soft sound. Eli was right. On Earth, people were watching every update, every movement, every signal. He was no longer unknown. He was no longer forgotten. He was becoming a symbol. But Eli did not think about that. He looked at the forest, then at the river, then at his shelter. "This place," he said softly, "can be understood." Rocky moved closer and sat beside him. Eli placed a hand on its back. For a moment, there was silence.
Peace.
Then he added quietly, "And we will." Far away on Earth, the message was still being studied. But one thing was clear. Eli had changed everything, not just by surviving, but by showing something no one expected. A human could adapt, even on a death planet. The day started like the others. Quiet. Still. But something felt different. Eli noticed it first. He stood near his shelter and looked toward the forest. The air felt heavier than usual. Not physically, but in a way he could not ignore. "Change," he said softly. Rocky stood beside him. Its body was tense. Its ears, if they could be called that, moved slightly as it listened. It was alert. More than before. Eli checked his scanner. The small device showed movement. Many signals. Not small. Not normal. Larger than anything he had seen so far. He frowned slightly. "Too many," he said. He looked at Rocky. Rocky made a low, warning sound. Eli understood. Something big was coming. He grabbed his spear and moved carefully toward the forest edge. Rocky followed closely. This time, it did not stay at a distance. It stayed near him, closer than before. The forest looked normal at first. Trees. Shadows. Stillness. But Eli knew better. He stopped. Listened. Waited. Then, a sound. Deep. Heavy. Not like anything before. The ground trembled slightly. Eli's eyes narrowed. "That's new," he said. The trees ahead began to move. Not from wind. Something was pushing them aside. Slow. Strong. Unstoppable. Rocky stepped forward and growled loudly. Eli raised his hand. "Wait," he said. The creature came into view. And for a moment, even Eli froze. It was massive. Much larger than anything he had seen. Its body was covered in thick, dark armor-like skin. Its head was wide, with sharp ridges. Its legs were heavy, each step shaking the ground. Its eyes locked onto Eli. Eli did not run. He did not attack. He simply stood still, watching, calculating. The creature made a loud, deep sound. A warning. A challenge. Rocky growled back. Louder this time. Eli slowly stepped forward. Not aggressive. Not afraid. Just present. "Not hunting," he said quietly. His voice was calm, controlled. The creature tilted its head slightly. It did not expect this. Eli lowered his weapon, then slowly raised his empty hand. No threat. No movement. Just stillness. A few seconds passed. Then, the creature took a step forward. Heavy. Slow. Intentional. Rocky tensed, ready to attack. But Eli spoke. "Easy," he said. The creature stopped. It looked at Eli, then at Rocky, then back at Eli. It was not just attacking randomly. It was deciding. Eli realized something. This was not just a predator. This was a top predator. A ruler of this area. A real threat. The creature stepped forward again. Closer this time. Its massive body cast a shadow over Eli. Rocky let out a loud, deep roar. But the creature did not react. It focused on Eli. Eli did something unexpected. He slowly placed his spear on the ground, then stepped back. Silence. The creature paused. Its head moved slightly. Studying. Eli spoke calmly. No fight. Simple words. Clear intent. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the creature turned its head slightly. It stepped back. Slowly. Eli did not move. He waited. The creature watched him one last time, then turned and walked away. The ground shook as it disappeared into the forest. Rocky relaxed, but stayed alert. Eli exhaled slowly. That was close, he said. He picked up his spear again, then looked toward the forest. This one is different, he said. Back at the shelter, Eli checked his gear. He thought carefully. The balance of this planet was shifting. Or maybe he was reaching deeper into it. He took out his camera. Turned it on.
This is Eli, he said.
Day 9.
He paused.
Then continued. Encountered large creature. He looked toward the forest. Dominant type. He took a breath. Not hostile. Then added. Not friendly either. He looked back at the camera. Balance is fragile. Rocky moved into frame. Standing beside him, Eli placed a hand on it. Still here, he said. A distant roar echoed again. But this time, Eli did not flinch. Threat identified, he said. Understood. He turned off the camera. That day, Eli learned something important. Karth was not just a dangerous planet. It had its own rulers. And now, Eli had seen one. Eli did not forget the encounter with the large creature. After that day, he became more careful, more alert, more focused. The forest felt different now, not because it changed, but because Eli understood it better. He knew there were levels in this world. Small creatures, medium hunters, and then the top ones, the rulers. Eli walked slowly near the river. Rocky followed behind him, staying close. The bond between them had grown stronger. They did not need words. They understood each other through actions. Eli stopped and looked at the water. He noticed something. The movement patterns had changed. The small fish were staying closer to the deeper parts. Something was disturbing them. Eli crouched down. Something changed, he said. Rocky made a low sound. It felt it too. Eli checked the scanner. More signals. Different direction. Closer than before. He stood up slowly. Let's move, he said. They did not go back to the shelter. Instead, they moved deeper into the forest. Careful. Quiet. Eli wanted answers. After some time, they reached a clearing. The ground was broken. Trees were damaged. Large footprints were visible. Not from the same creature as before. This was something else. Eli examined the marks.
Fight, he said.
Rocky growled softly. Eli followed the tracks. They led deeper into the forest. The deeper they went, the stronger the signs became. Broken branches, scratches on trees, dark marks on the ground. Then, they heard it. A distant clash. Heavy sounds. Two powerful forces fighting. Eli stopped. Rocky stopped too. Eli listened carefully. Two large ones, he said. He moved closer. Slowly. Behind a group of thick trees, he saw it. Two massive creatures fighting. They were huge. Both of them. Stronger than the one Eli met before. They clashed with great force. Their bodies hit the ground. Trees broke. The earth shook. Eli watched silently. This was not just random fighting. This was territory. Power. Control. Rocky growled quietly, but Eli raised his hand. Wait, he said. The fight continued. One creature pushed the other back. The second creature roared and struck again. Eli observed carefully. He studied their movements, their strength, their patterns. This was important. Very important. He whispered. Top level, not stable. Rocky watched closely. It stayed calm, but ready. The fight finally ended when one creature backed away. The other stood tall, victorious. The defeated one slowly walked away, wounded, weak. Eli watched everything. He understood something new. Karth was not just dangerous. It was competitive. A constant fight for survival. Only the strongest survived. Eli took out his camera. Turn it on. This is Eli, he said. Day 10. He pointed slightly toward the direction of the fight. Observed large-scale conflict. He paused. Two dominant creatures. He looked serious. This is not random. He added. It is a system. Rocky stepped into frame. Standing beside him, Eli placed his hand on Rocky's back. We are part of it now, he said. A low sound echoed in the distance. The forest responded. Eli did not react. He simply looked ahead. Understanding increases survival, he said. He turned off the camera. After that, Eli changed his approach. He did not just survive anymore.
He trained.
He practiced moving quietly. He learned to read the environment better. He studied the creatures more closely. Rocky helped too. It showed instincts. It reacted to sounds. It sensed danger faster than Eli sometimes. Together, they became a team. Eli tested himself against the environment. He climbed rocks, moved through narrow paths, reacted faster, adapted. His body became stronger. His mind became sharper. One evening, Eli stood at the edge of the forest. Rocky stood beside him.
Eli looked at the land,
then said quietly, I can live here. Rocky made a low sound. Eli nodded. He looked back at the shelter, at the river, at the forest. Not just survive, he said. He looked forward again. Live. That night, the sounds of Karth continued.
But now,
Eli was not just a visitor. He was becoming part of the planet. And slowly, he was becoming something Karth had never seen before. A human who adapted and mastered. Far away from Karth, the signal from Eli had changed everything. The message was no longer just a strange report. It was proof. Proof that a human could survive on a death planet. Inside the command center, screens showed Eli's recordings. People gathered in a large room.
Scientists,
Officers, leaders, all watching, all thinking. One officer spoke first. We need to bring him back. Another replied, no, that is not simple. The room became quiet again. They debated. Some believed Eli was too important to lose. Others believed bringing him back could be dangerous. Not just for him, but for everyone. A scientist stepped forward. We are not just seeing survival, he said. We are seeing adaptation. He pointed at the screen. Look at his behavior. Look at his growth. The footage showed Eli.
calm,
Focused. Living with the creature. Studying the planet. Learning every detail. Another officer spoke. If we leave him there, we risk losing him. A pause. Or worse, he becomes part of that world. Silence followed. Meanwhile, the data kept coming. Eli was still active. Still alive. Still sending signals. The team monitored everything. His movements. His survival patterns. His interactions with Rocky. One person said quietly, he is not just surviving. Everyone turned to look. He is building something. Back on Karth, Eli stood near the river. Rocky stood beside him. The day was calm. The water moved slowly. The air was steady. Eli threw a small piece of food into the water. A fish came quickly, grabbed it, and disappeared. Eli nodded. Predictable, he said. He turned to Rocky. Even here, patterns exist. Rocky made a low sound. Eli smiled slightly. He picked up his camera and turned it on. This is Eli, he said. Day 11. He showed the river. Resources stable. Then he pointed to Rocky. Companions stable.
He paused.
Then looked toward the forest. Planet system. Understood more each day. He added, still dangerous. He looked back at the camera, but manageable. He stopped recording. That same moment, on Earth, a new plan was being discussed. We send a team, one leader said. Observation only, another added. But someone else spoke firmly. No team. Everyone turned. The person continued. If we send people, we interfere. He pointed at the screen. Eli is doing something we cannot control. Silence filled the room. Then what do we do? Someone asked. A long pause. Finally the answer came. We wait. Back on Karth, Eli sat near the fire. Rocky lay beside him. The night was calm, but Eli felt something.
A change.
He looked up at the sky. Dark clouds moved slowly. He spoke quietly. They are watching. Rocky lifted its head slightly. Eli looked back at the fire. I send the message, he said. A small pause. They will respond. Rocky made a soft sound. Eli leaned back. This is not over, he said. Far away, on Earth, the debate was still going on. Some wanted to bring Eli back. Some wanted to study him. Some wanted to wait. But one thing was clear. Eli was no longer just a cadet. He was becoming something more. A symbol, a discovery, a question. And on Karth, he was preparing for whatever came next. Because now, the planet knew him, and the universe was starting to notice. The message came again. Soft at first, then clear. Eli noticed it while sitting near the fire. The small device he had built started blinking. A signal. From Earth. Rocky lifted its head. It sensed the change. Eli stood up slowly and picked up the device. Connection, the system said. For a moment, Eli did nothing. He just looked at the blinking light. Then he pressed the button. A voice came through.
Clear. Calm.
This is command. Eli listened quietly. We have reviewed your situation, the voice said.
Pause.
Your survival is confirmed. Eli remained still. Rocky stayed beside him. The voice continued. You are offered extraction. Eli's eyes narrowed slightly. Extraction. Going back. The voice added. You will be retrieved within a short time if you accept. Silence. Eli looked around. At the forest. At the river. At the shelter he built. At Rocky. Everything he had learned. Everything he had built. Everything he had become. The voice spoke again. Do you accept? Eli did not answer immediately. He walked a few steps forward.
Slow.
Thinking. Rocky followed him. Quiet. Eli stopped near the river. He looked at the water. The same river. The same place where he had learned to survive. He remembered everything. The first night. The fear. The learning. The fights.
The bond.
He turned his head slightly. Rocky stood beside him.
Strong. Calm. Alive.
Eli spoke softly. This place changed me. He looked at Rocky. Then back at the river. I am not the same person anymore. He took a slow breath. On the other side, Earth waited. A future waited. But here, Karth waited too. Eli closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. He walked back to his shelter. He picked up his camera. Turn it on.
This is Eli, he said.
Final message. He looked calm, strong.
Certain.
I have received extraction offer.
Pause.
He looked at Rocky, then back at the camera. I decline. On Earth. Everyone went silent. Eli continued. This place is not just survival. He looked around. It is learning. He paused, then added. And I am not finished learning. Rocky stepped closer. Eli placed a hand on its side. I have a companion,
he said.
I have a system. He looked at the forest. I have a purpose. He looked back at the camera. Extraction not required. A long pause. Then he added quietly. I will stay. The signal began to fade. On Earth.
People reacted.
Some were shocked. Some were amazed. Some could not understand. But the decision was made. Eli chose to stay. The connection broke. The screen went dark. Back on Karth. Silence returned. Rocky made a low sound. Eli looked at it, then gave a small nod. We continue, he said. He placed the camera down. The fire burned softly. The forest moved around them. Eli stood there for a moment, looking at everything. Then he spoke one last time. Humanity is not weak. He looked at the sky. It adapts. Rocky stood beside him. And survives. The night continued. But now, Eli was not just surviving. He had chosen his path. Not a prisoner. Not a victim. But a man who turned a death planet into his home.